Coming up next on Adventurer, a best-selling author who's also climbed on Pakistan's deadly K2. Don't go away. Clash, James Clash. This is Adventurer, the show with guests who truly push their lives to the limits. No talking heads here, just the real deals. I'm Jim Clash. In 1993, mountaineer Greg Mortenson had visions of summiting K2, arguably the world's most difficult peak. Last month, a dozen climbers lost their lives near its summit when a huge serac broke off. Mortenson never did make the top, but he did help rescue a dying climber, then later went on to write 3 Cups of Tea about his K2 experience and is building of 55 schools in the region. One thing that struck me about you is we just lost 12 people on K2 last month, up near the top, and a serac fell. Tell me about your experience on K2, because I know you almost made the summit back in '93.
Well, I was on K2 in '93. I went there to honor my sister's Krista's death. I made it up to about 8,300 meters, and it's a very difficult, dangerous mountain. And 78 days after climbing on K2, I finally decided to forego the summit, and I walked off the mountain, and I ended up in a village 5 days later.
But you helped rescue some climbers while you were up there, right?
Right. We helped rescue twice, actually, at about 7,600 meters, and that took a lot of energy and a lot of, we'd already been on the mountain about 60 days by then.
So, I mean, as I understand it, you really kind of gave up your summit attempt 1,000 feet from the top, which is really close to the summit of K2, and helped rescue a climber. That's a pretty amazing thing to do, given what's going on today in mountaineering, where you got people on Everest just walking by, dying climbers.
Well, at the time we were a close-knit group, and we decided one of us would stay back to help the other climbers down, and I was happy to be the person to do that.
Also, now, you know, you've done some even more amazing things. When you got down, of course, you were inspired by the Afghani people and the Pakistani people, and you've now built, what, 78 schools to help out with the population since, what, 2000?
Well, since 93, 96, our first school, 78 schools, and about 28,000 students. And we mainly focus in very, I would say, extreme areas, either physical isolation, areas of conflict and war, or areas of religious extremism.
And, you know, I remember interviewing Sir Edmund Hillary, and one of the things that struck me about him was after he climbed Everest, he spent the rest of his life building schools and hospitals in Nepal. So you're kind of doing that in the K2 region. Did you get any inspiration from Hillary? I'm sure you've met him.
Hillary is one of my childhood heroes and a friend of my father-in-law, Barry Bishop, and so I was very honored to meet him after I had started building schools in remote parts of Pakistan.
Back in 2000, okay, there were 800,000 total students in Afghanistan, and a real small part of those, maybe 40,000 were girls, the rest were boys. Now, in 2008, that number is 6.4 million total students, and of that, 2 million are women or girls. I mean, clearly the work you've done over there by building all those schools has helped a lot, wouldn't you say?
Well, we provide a catalyst to really get education going, and it's been the single most increase of students pretty much anywhere in the world over the last few decades. Unfortunately, nobody in America is really aware of that fact.
Now, of course, you've written 3 Cups of Tea, wildly successful, been on the New York Times bestseller list for what, how many, 83 weeks?
83 weeks.
Jeez, I wish my book would have sold that well. What's the secret to writing a bestseller like that? We all want it.
Well, I'm not sure. I know one thing, it's hard work. I think also that right now it's very timely. You know, I think what's interesting is that both liberals and conservatives, the Pentagon has bought several thousand copies to use for counterintelligence training. And I think there's a real interest in really reaching out, building relationships, even in business. You see that where people are really looking at cultural nuances and how to make sustainable models of business by interaction with other people. And the title, 3 Cups of Tea, means the first cup you're a stranger, second cup a friend, and third cup you become family, and for your family you're prepared to do anything, even die.
Wow. It's a real honor.
Thanks, Jim.
It's a great book,
Thank you.
And I recommend 3 Cups of Tea to anybody out there.